Hi again. This time I'm going to show you how to use Excel to make a basic graph. There's a lot to graphing. I'm not going to show you everything, but at least I can show you how to set up and start making graphs. So I'm going to pop into my Excel. So I've got Excel downloaded and I have opened Excel. And I'm going to show you how to make a graph using some data that I collected with my WASP experiment. One of the things that I was looking at with my data, remember my hypothesis was something like individuals are going to vary in their behaviors because they have different roles to play at the nest. So I looked at each individual animal and I measured a bunch of different behaviors. One of them was larval inspections. And I want to make a graph that compares the number of larval inspections that animals are making, but I also want to report the mean number of larval inspections. I want to be able to see the individuals in my case because that's what my hypothesis was about, but I want to look at the means as well. And so I collected descriptive information from our SPSS data set. But now I'm going to take the data that I have and put it in Excel. And I usually set up, if I'm going to make a graph, I set up the data in columns. The first column would represent the independent variable. In this case, the subject. Okay, I have these 4 subjects, and I also want to calculate the mean number of larval inspections. All right, and the second column would be the dependent variable, the behavior I'm measuring. In this case, the number of larval inspections that these animals were making. And I put the data all in. So here are my data for the WASP 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then I calculate the means. I'm going to have to add to this in a minute, and I'll show you how. But now I'm ready to make a graph, right? Make a figure. I'm going to highlight everything, including the titles of each column. I can always change and modify them later, but I'm going to highlight them. And I'm going to ask my computer to insert a chart. And there's all different kinds of charts here. I want to just insert a bar graph, or a figure of a bar graph, like that. Hey, look at that. Popped it right up. Okay. Now I look at my graph, and I have to decide what I like and what I don't like, and I need to do a number of different things to that graph. And to do that, we're going to go to this plus icon, which is the charts elements icon, that you can do a whole bunch of things with it. So I'm going to go to that, and oh yeah, I can see all sorts of things that I can do to these. All right, well, one of the things I notice is I want to have a y-axis. I don't have a y-axis, so I'm going to have to add some titles. Okay, so if I click on that, I automatically get titles added here. I don't want my title to be axis titled, so I'm going to say number of larval inspections. Okay, and under the x-axis, I think I'm going to say subject. Okay. And I could probably make those a little bit bigger if I wanted to. That's something that, you know, the font here might need to be bigger. So I can do that in a variety of ways. Right now I'm just sort of moving individually at a time, and I think I made it size 14, so I'll make this one size 14 too. Whoa, that one got a little big. Whatever, we'll figure it out. Okay, and I don't need this title on the top. We're going to put a figure caption on all of our figures, so we don't need a title. And I don't like these grid lines, so I'm going to click on them and delete them. Okay, all right. Yeah, this isn't quite perfect, but you get the idea. You can move things around, you can modify things. And what if I wanted to, I really decided, you know, I have the mean number of larval inspections here, but I want to show the standard error of the mean. How could I do that? Well, what I need to do is I need to actually tell the computer what the actual standard error of the mean is based on my descriptive statistics from SPSS. And so I'm going to make a new column here for standard error of the mean, or SEM, or you can call it standard error, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this is kind of a tricky one. Normally the data we collect, we average, etc., but we're not taking the average of data for WASP 5, 6, 7, or 8. They were just their own data. WASP 5 inspected the larva 2 times. There's no standard error of the mean because we're only looking at one subject. So I'm going to put zeros in for these 4 wasps, but when we calculated the mean of larval inspection, my standard error of the mean, looking at my SPSS file, was 3.5. Okay, so now I've got my standard errors of the means reported here. How do I get them onto my figure to look at like error bars, right? Okay, this is what I do. You click back on the graph, and I've actually highlighted the bars themselves. Go back to Chart Elements, go to Error Bars. Don't just click on it, or it will randomly assign error bars. I have no idea actually how that does that. I want to go to this little black arrow, go to More Options, and then on the right-hand side of the computer screen, you'll see all different options. Right now it says there's a fixed value. It's just putting in a standard error. I don't want that. I want to tell the computer what my standard error of the mean is. So I need to go to Custom, click on that, and click on Specify Value. And then I need to put the positive error value in. That would be the error above the mean, and the error below the mean is the negative error. And they should be the same. So it looks like I'm going to be putting in my standard errors for all 5 of my blocks here, of my bars, at the same time. So what I want to do for my positive error value, okay, so I highlight that. I can delete that first if I want to. And what I'm going to do is highlight the standard error, the mean values for all 5 of my bars. And I delete everything under the negative error value, and I highlight the same column of data for the standard error bars. And I hit OK. And we'll see what happens. Okay, those little dots disappear, I think. Okay, there we go. Oh, look at this. This is bad and bad. It's kind of bad. Because I've never done this before, where I've sort of tried to fool the computer into giving these bars for WASP 5, 6, 7, and 8 standard errors. They don't need standard error bars, but in order to get the mean standard error, I had to kind of fool the computer by giving them 0 values. That's interesting. I don't like those little black dots, but we're going to leave them there. I've put in the appropriate standard error of the mean or the variation around the mean for my data. I probably want to put in a couple other things. No, I think this is okay. And I may have to adjust some sizes and things like that, but it's in pretty good shape. Okay. Again, if you need to make any changes, go to the Chart Elements icon and start with if I need to add a title, which I don't. Okay. If I need to change something, add grid lines or a trend line. Those are the kinds of things you would use. But I like my graph, and I think it's good. And I'm going to copy it and save it. And if I need to, turn it in for an assignment. And so that's the basics of how to do a graph, a bar graph. Lots of other types of graphs. We do have a file on how do you make graphs in Excel. There's also Google, right? That's it for now. Thanks so much.